Welcome. Today we're going to talk about the business value of lean and agile methods using return on investment and real options analysis. Please visit my website to learn more about me. Download all of my lean and agile briefs, videos, and some of my white papers on how to apply these concepts to large public sector projects. I've been in the IT industry for about 3.5 decades now. My background is in computer science. I'm a career systems and software engineering methodologist. My first project was NASA's space station, and I wrote the first books on the ROI of SimMI, as well as the ROI of Agile methods. Let's talk a little bit about the motivation or impetus for agile methods. Let's start with the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is an extinction level event. That is, it's a dinosaur killer with nearly 50 billion devices on the Internet. This is placing great pressures on today's businesses in terms of lead and cycle time and success. And those that cannot compete in this new global environment simply cannot succeed. Some of the more common factors are obviously increased global competition, demanding customers, the increasing rate of technological change, rapid obsolescence of technology and skills. The just 90% of the systems or budgets are wrapped up in legacy systems, poor global IT security, and obviously the long lead and cycle times, which we talked about in the previous slide. Historical IT projects over the last 3, 4, 5 decades were simply overscoped in terms of size, complexity, cost, and the bigger they are, the harder they fall. They have worse quality, they have greater instability, they have the lowest productivity among projects, but worse yet is they have the lowest rate of success and the highest rate of failure. Computer scientists have known since the 1970s that the customers simply will not know what they want until they see it, and we see that in the statistics. Over 75% of requirements are simply defective, and of those that you do document, most of them are not needed at all. And these are some of the factors that contribute, to 60-70% IT project failure and nearly $1 trillion worth of global failures each year. All these factors combined to give rise to agile methods over 2 decades ago, which were methods, consisting of quickness, lightness, ease of movement, and obviously to be nimble. In order to respond to these changing market conditions, quickly reprioritize your resources, give a fast response when you finally figure out what your customers want through intense customer interaction in an evolutionary style in order to increase business value. Another way of saying the same thing is what the Agile Manifesto said nearly 2 decades ago. The 4 major values of intense customer collaboration, conversations, more conversations through teamwork, individuals and interactions, a focus on products versus products and contracts, and responding to change instead of, ironclad project plans. A closely related concept to the notion of agility is lean thinking or lean methods. It's a property consisting of being thin, slim, skinny, to be extremely slender. That is, it's a customer-driven paradigm that focuses on increasing business value. It's an economical way of planning and managing that's free of excess waste. It's based on principles of just enough, just-in-time, right-sized processes, documentation, and tools to enable organizations to be adaptable to change. Although there are many values of lean thinking, some of the more popular ones are obviously respect for people and culture, focus on continuous flow, innovation, relentless continuous improvement, but also, business and market value, as we've said before, and obviously servant leadership. In traditional project management is based on the triple constraints or the iron triangle, where your scope is fixed and your cost and time are variable. In the agile paradigm, time is fixed and so is cost, while your scope is variable. However, lean kind of focuses on a balance of batch size, capacity, and time among other key variables. It's important to note that there are many dimensions of agility. It's not just agile methods, agile project management, agile systems development. We think of total organizational agility in terms of agile leadership, organizational change, contracting, strategic planning, as well as program and project management, the systems development processes, the tools and the technologies themselves. So how exactly do agile methods work? Well, agile methods focus on slices versus layer rather than the traditional toaster model, which you try to build an overscoped system that takes years and decades. What you actually do is focus on one functional feature at a time. And when you do this, the process is actually faster. You get an earlier business value, lower costs, fewer defects, manageable risk, and better systems performance and even better security. A statistical technique for saying the same thing is the notion of cumulative or workflow diagrams. That is when you start too many requirements at one time using overscoped systems paradigms. What you do is you choke productivity, you elongate lead and cycle times, and you lower quality. However, when you focus on one feature at a time, what you actually do is you speed up productivity, continuous flow, early business value, and you actually increase product quality. So let's give a short overview of some of the historical agile methods. Obviously from the 1990s there were crystal methods, Scrum, DSDM, feature-driven development, and even extreme programming. Today over 90% of projects use Scrum. It's the dominant agile paradigm worldwide. It's important to note that there are also competing paradigms that are closely related to agile methods like lean software development, lean principles, lean Kanban, even lean products and lean enterprises. Lean Kanban has actually gathered a worldwide movement as an alternative methodology in the early 21st century. Although the debate of agile versus lean was certainly fierce for a while, hybrid methodologies include agile delivery methods like TDD, continuous integration, behavior-driven development, continuous delivery, DevOps, and even DevOpsSec, which are automated hybrids of both agile and lean methods embodying principles of one-piece workflow. Many people began scaling some of these team-level techniques up to projects, programs, and even portfolios and enterprises. So there were models of agile project management emerged, like radical project management, extreme project management, adaptive, agile project management itself, as well as some more popular market models created by Mark Layton. Probably one of the more popular notions encapsulating both principles of agile thinking as well as lean thinking are the agile portfolio management methods like enterprise Scrum, the scaled agile framework, large-scale Scrum, disciplined agile delivery, as well as recipes for agile governance, and scaled professional Scrum. However, SAFe is sort of kind of emerging as the worldwide leader for organizations that want to embrace both lean and agile thinking. Apart from models of agile portfolio management, as we saw in the previous slide, the models of agile leadership are also becoming immensely popular. There are models of agile leadership, employee leadership, or radical leadership, lean leadership, and even leadership 3.0. It's imperative to know that lean and agile thinking cannot thrive in today's organization without the strong, total organizational leadership. So let's start getting to the more quantitative aspects of lean and agile methods. Let's start with some of the basic agile metrics, such as burn down charts to show your backlog of user stories or requirements is burning down, cumulative workflow, as we saw before, to measure your productivity and your performance. Even agile earned value management and earned business value. It's really important to note that your first 10 or 20% of requirements have about 80% of your business value if your backlog is prioritized correctly. Let's look at some of the basic lean metrics. Obviously, the two big ones are lead and cycle time. Lead time begins when a market or a customer need is first discovered, and cycle time begins when development or engineering actually begins building that product or service, and both of them terminate when the product actually reaches market. While there are fierce debates on what the appropriate metrics are for lean and agile methods, obviously the two big ones are team morale or team happiness. Your team has to be happy in order to do a good job and delight customers. So customer delight becomes very, very important. You definitely don't want to measure people to death, but there are a lot of metrics to consider, like code metrics, product metrics, the basic project metrics, story points and burn downs, your testing metrics, your business value metrics, your health metrics, and obviously your portfolio management metrics. Here's an early study, an interesting study of agile performance, which sort of kind of spelled a lot of myths. Based on a study of nearly 7,500 projects, initial agile projects had 60% lower costs, required 40% less staff, or just basic projects were at least 25% faster. But the real big surprise was the quality. The quality of the agile projects was almost 10 times greater than those of traditional projects. A basic quantitative ROI analysis showed that even basic agile teams were about 10 to 20 times faster than those of traditional teams, resulting in nearly a 10 times a return on investment. And when you started using automated testing and DevOps and continuous integration and continuous delivery, that ROI increased sharply. Because agile methods actually had a lower cost of quality, its return on investment was substantially greater. You could actually find defects in fractions of an hour versus hours for traditional methods, and some of the more mature agile projects were almost 5,000 times faster than those of traditional methods. We see that in this Hewlett-Packard case study here, where using some agile methods, lean concepts, and even automated testing and DevOps, their build time was nearly an order of magnitude better. Their feedback cycles almost 2 orders of magnitude better, but more importantly, their overall development costs were nearly 80% lower, so they were actually able to return some of those back to innovation, marketing, and even new products and services. Remember that the average cycle time in the public sector is about 80 months for a release, but using basic agile methods, you're able to increase the number of releases to up to 45 times per month. If you look at Google doing hundreds of millions of tests per day, and even Amazon doing hundreds of thousands of releases a day, and now you understand why the lead and cycle times are thousands of times better. Here's an interesting Blackboard case study where integrating all their products and services into one massive code base actually increased their waste. That is, over 90% of their code was integration code, which froze their productivity and worsened their quality. But once they sort of decoupled their product into microservices, they actually increased their productivity, increased their quality, and like Hewlett-Packard, returned their costs back to innovation. Here's an interesting case study by the Department of Homeland Security using traditional methods. It took about 180 days for a very, very small system release, but using lean and agile methods, Kanban, even DevOps, continuous integration, continuous delivery, they were actually able to release or reduce their release time to about 1 to 3 days, reduce the number of their products and process to about 2 artifacts and 1 gate review. So they substantially reduced their waste and increased their productivity and quality. Here's an interesting ROI analysis by DevOps Research or DORA, where they showed when you can actually apply agile methods at the enterprise level, you can do this for a fairly low cost, and your benefits are in the tens of millions of dollars, and your ROI is extremely high, and your payback is extremely really low. Apart from the extremely impressive DevOps studies at Hewlett-Packard, DHS, and even DORA, even basic agile projects are about 3 times more successful than traditional ones. They're less challenged and they fail less often, which is extremely impressive. Here's an early study by MIT showing some of the benefits of agility at the business level. You have 6% better earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation, 4% better return on equity, 8% better return on assets, 14% better return on investment, but you have actually 36% better earnings and 12% better revenues. We see the increased the demand for agile professionals in the public sectors about 2 and 3 orders of magnitude, but we also see the benefits of agility at the national level, that is in terms of GDP and GNP, that is nations that have principles of agility in some of their high-tech industries actually have better gross domestic product, better national gross national product than manufacturing nations or even agricultural ones. As we alluded to earlier, over 95% of worldwide IT projects now use agile methods like Scrum, Kanban. Over 50% of projects that use portfolio methods actually use a scaled agile framework. And a recent Deloitte study found that over 80% of public sector or government projects were now using agile methods as well. Today, there are over 500,000 certified Agile professionals, and they're nearly reaching as many traditional PMPs, and there are over 200,000 certified scaled Agile professionals. And we see the areas in the nation that have the highest concentration of Agile jobs and professionals, like the West Coast, obviously the Seattle area, Massachusetts, and even the Mid-Atlantic. So let's go ahead and start wrapping up. Contrary to popular belief, agile methods don't mean deliver it now and fix it later. They're lightweight yet disciplined approaches to project management systems development that reduce cost, risk, waste, and they improve quality. They're based on principles of early feedback, simplified scope, better collaboration, communication, early verification, early validation, and obviously improved performance. So let's close with a quote by Measurement by Lord Kelvin on quantification and scientific knowledge. He said that when you can measure what you're speaking about and express it in numbers, you know something about it. But when you cannot measure it, you cannot express it in numbers, then your knowledge is meager and unsatisfactory. And as you can see from this brief, I think we know a little bit more about the science of lean and agile methods and its performance benefits over traditional paradigms. There are a lot of books on the cost and benefits of agile methods. Obviously, my own textbook on the business value of agile methods, as well as the ROI of traditional methods. And feel free to visit my website, davidfrigo.com, to learn a little bit more about me. Grab my Lean and Agile briefs, my Agile videos, and my white papers on how to apply these techniques to large U.S. government projects. Thank you very much for joining me here today.